Hi, and welcome to the Autism in Black podcast. I am your host, Maria Davis-Pierre, licensed mental health counselor and the CEO and founder of Autism in Black, Inc. Today's guest is Shona Johnson, a longtime advocate for children and families who brings more than 25 years of experience in social services to the work that she does. LaShawna has spent her career guiding families towards resources, support, and understanding, always leading with care, clarity, and compassion. She's also the mother of an autistic son, and that lived experience deeply shapes how she shows up for other families. LaShawna understands the day-to-day realities, the questions, and the resilience it takes to keep going. Through her writing and community work, she uplifts and empowers families navigating similar journeys, reminding them that they are not alone and that strength, knowledge, and connection can carry them forward. Enjoy today's episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Autism in Black show. I am so excited about today's guest. LaShawna, we're so honored to have you here with us. For listeners who are just getting to know you, can you share who you are beyond the titles, the credentials, and what first called you into supporting children and families in the way you do today?
Hi, thank you for having me today. As she said, my name is Lashana. I have been working with children and families for over 28 years now. I first started with children and family services in the county that I reside in, worked there for 25 years, supported families in different capacities as far as really being hands on, providing services to families in their home. And then I decided after 4 years, I still stayed with the county with children and family services and decided to do foster and adoptive care, where I did home studies for people who wanted to be foster parents to children who came into county custody or children that the courts deemed, they could not return home and they received permanent custody. I would also do those home studies. Did that for about, I don't know, 16 years, and then decided, okay, let's do something else very similar. I worked with relative and fictive kin who wanted to get their children from another county or another state. So it was like crossing lines. Still had to do a home study, not as intense as a foster or adoptive home study. And then once that state or county decided we're going to place the child, I had to, be there every month, make sure they had the services that they needed in the home until that state or county decided, okay, we're going to let them adopt or let them get legal custody, and they closed the home out. So, but now my last 3 to 4 years, I am working in the school system,
Mm.
similar capacity, supporting students and families, providing resources and supports from, it could be something as simple as kids coming to me, I need a water bottle, I need a backpack, to families needing some support with child may have some behaviors, or they may have mental health, or our school has so many resources. We have a clinic in our school, a medical clinic. So children can be seen while they're in school, in addition to having a school nurse. But yeah, so parents, with their consent, the child can go be seen. And of course, they'll call them and say, hey, this is what's going on. Or it could be just a regular checkup, or it could be, something going on. So I just provide different resources and supports. And then I do a whole bunch of other different things that I like to do, like events and kids having, like junior prom. I do those types of things. Those are some of the things I love to do. And that's where I'm at today.
A lot.
Mhm.
Um, One, you bring both that professional experience in social services and then the deeply personal experience of parenting an autistic son. How do these parts of your life inform um, one another, and how have they shaped the way you show up for families and communities?
Yeah, it really has shaped me because I not only do I have the professional side, I
Mhm.
have that personal side, because a lot of times people will look at you like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And then so I say, well, I have a child that has some special needs, and they'd be like, oh, okay, so I try to I do bring both of those things to the table in hopes that it'll make that family feel more comfortable to be able to share or and feel like, okay, maybe she does know a little bit of what, she's talking about. So it's both aspects of working in the field for so many years. And then now my son, who is 14, has autism himself. So,
Hmm. I'd love for you to take us back to that moment when your son received his diagnosis. What was that season like for you emotionally as a mother, and what questions or fears were most present at the beginning of that journey?
now I will say, I knew something was going on.
Hmm.
I just had that inclination after he turned one. I just felt like he wasn't hitting milestones, and everybody like, oh, kids, develop differently, and I knew that, but I'm like something, I don't know.
Yeah.
So when before he turned 3, I said, oh, let me get Help Me Grow involved to see, what they thought, and it's like, oh, they said nothing. They felt that he was developing, okay.
Hmm.
So then he turned 3. His daycare provider, which was a family member, also had been a daycare provider for years, said, I'm going to bring someone in that helps in-home daycare providers, regular daycare providers with children who they think have some issues. So she did that. And that person ended up calling me and said, I think your child would benefit from special education preschool through your local school district. And so we did that, the evaluation, the IEP, all those things. The school district, I was public school, I said, hey, before he turned 4, do you think he has autism? Well, we think so. I said, well, are you going to tell me? No. They's like, well, we don't do that diagnosis. I said, that's fine. I know what to do. So I did what I needed to do, went to the pediatrician, did all those things, did the referral. And when it came time, I knew, but it was still hard, you know. I don't know if I want to say it was like almost going through that um grieving stages where you're like,
Hmm.
I knew something was going on, but for me personally, I mean, it hit different. Now it's my own. I'm helping all these other families. Now it's my own child.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it was very emotional time.
Yeah, I know for me the same. With my daughter, I already knew, and trying to get healthcare professionals to give the diagnosis, that was our issue. And that's where a
Wow.
lot of my grief came from. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a professional talking to a colleague, like, and you're not listening to me. My husband's a
Right.
physician, he's talking to his peers and colleagues, and here we are, y'all are not listening, and you don't even care about early intervention. You stress so much early intervention, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to give these diagnoses to our kids before they are out of that early intervention phase. So I know for me, a lot of my grief was around the trying to get the diagnosis so that we could then move on to the next step. So I can relate in your story of here we are doing this professionally, and then personally, there's that struggle and people are not listening and
Mm-hmm.
hearing us. So I know you decided to write the Autism Roadmap from early diagnosis to academic success, and you've been clear that this book is more than information. It's about clarity and confidence. What gaps did you notice for parents, especially Black parents, that made
Yes.
you realize a roadmap like this is needed?
Especially working in a working both for children and family services and the school district, we know it's an overwhelming process in of itself.
Hmm.
Receiving that diagnosis, even trying to get there to that point in our community, not trusting doctors, not trusting what they have to say, doctors not like dismissing
Yes.
what we're saying. So what's the point, Um, I don't even know where to start because you get that diagnosis, they throw all this information at you, and it's overwhelming.
Hmm.
it was overwhelming for me, but at the same time, I knew what I needed to do. So I just did it. But for other families that no, don't have this background, don't have a social work background, social services, they look at all of this stuff and they're like, what am I supposed to do first? What am I to do? I mean, for me, I wish I would have sat in my emotions more. I mean, I would just went wrong straight. There was no stopping. Like the next day, I'm like, I got to call X, Y, and Z. I have to do this, this, and this. But a lot of families are like, what is the Board of Developmental Disabilities? What do they do? Or they're signed up with them and they don't really know how they support or what it is that they can provide. And that's, to me, that's one of the basic, services until, it will help as you're going along. But also, even with the IEP process and getting evaluation, because I had to go to the school and say, hey, I have this diagnosis. And they just looked at me like, so I'm like, oh, no, no, we're going to consider this. And I mean, it was like a fight
Yeah.
every step of the way. And some parents don't know what to do. And thank goodness the school that I am currently in is 60% special ed. Kids have, which is, it's a regular
Mm-hmm.
school, public school, 60,
Wow.
over 60% has an IEP or special needs or a self-contained classroom. And I've had, thank my principal, she truly understands. And she'll say, Johnson, you need to go call such and such and such. I can't tell them what they need to do, but I know you, because that's, my role. You can tell them
Mm-hmm.
exactly what they need to do step by step.
Mm-hmm.
So, just not knowing
Yeah.
what to do or what does this process look like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's difficult, and it's one of the things we stress here, because a lot of times, especially in my case, we weren't even given any information. It was, here's the diagnosis and go on and be fruitful, right?
And do what you do.
Yeah, luckily, me being a
Mhm.
therapist, my husband being a physician, we had that educational privilege and that leg up to know what we need to do. But a lot of parents don't. And when
No.
you're just given something and like, okay, well, here you go, it's overwhelming to go in and put in Google and do autism, and then there's so many hits, and there's these group of individuals go this way, these group of individuals go that way, and what do I do, and what's right, and am I harming
Yes.
my child, and all of these things that can go on, and it is overwhelming, it is frustrating, on top of dealing with those emotions of what does this mean, what, especially in our community, because representation in mainstream media for us is not there. So it's like, well, what does
No.
this mean? And there's so much going on, you don't know what to do. You don't know the difference between a medical diagnosis and a school categorization, right?
Mm-hmm.
Know that, oh, I can have a medical diagnosis, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the category that's going to be on the IEP. And what does
Yes.
IEP mean? And this and that. And it's so overwhelming. So when there are resources that can kind of give you that leg up and be like, okay, well, this is step one, step two, step three. You don't have to do all the steps. Here's, you could do step two and not step three, or, whatever fits your boat. I think that really can take a lot of the stress away because it is overwhelming. So having resources like that are so important. And I wanted to say, like, building a support system can feel
Yes.
daunting, especially when systems aren't welcoming, when they're not accessible. What does meaningful support look like in those early stages? And how can families really advocate for themselves while still honoring their own emotional capacity?
I will say my support system was my mother, my aunt, and a few of my uh friends that I've known for years. I mean, because we were doing all the therapies, all the things. I mean, if I needed a babysitter, my mother, my aunt, they would watch him during those. I mean, and still now, if I need to go somewhere, I mean, he's old enough, but those are the people I relied on. If he needed to go to ABA therapy, they would take him there. I would pick him up. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so it was very important. And in my book, I talk about building a support system. going to your family or friends, whoever that may be, and saying, hey, we got this diagnosis, I may need your support. Can you, talk about how they can support you in what capacity?
Mm-hmm.
And then come back on the other end, being supportive to them if you can, as well, because this journey can be a lot.
Yeah.
But just trying to get those, it doesn't have to be all these people. And then some people say, I don't have anybody.
Yeah.
Find some support groups, find some online. So make sure you research those online, supports, because not all are equal. So,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to find a few people to help you in any way, shape, or form is so important. There's also respite, um, you know, things out here as well, but I know some people may be a little leery of those things, but you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's resources. That community is really the foundation of all things we do in Autism in Black. It's the reason why we created the Autism in Black community, where people can have that membership and get that support. Because sometimes family or friends do not have that understanding, or they can't be there, and having that understanding of individuals who I can just say, oh, I had an IEP meeting today, and they know exactly what that means, and they know,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, how do we need to support you? And sometimes family may not get that. Doesn't mean they can't be great support systems, but also having people in your support circle who have that understanding
Yes.
as well. And for some individuals, that means outside of families. I too have a good support system within my family, but it took some educating them on,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is how we're gonna go. This is what that means. Now either you on this track with us, or you gotta go, right? So educating them and letting them know what was what, and having them respect how we decided to proceed with our environment for our children. So just knowing that your support system can lend all of those tools, but sometimes you got to do a little crafting of that support circle, and it's
Yes,
essential
absolutely.
to do so. But there are many resources for
Mm-hmm.
individuals who feel that they can't lean on family or friends, or don't have that support. There are so many resources out there where you can get that support, because it is so important. And oftentimes we feel like we are in an isolated experience, and we are not. There are many people who are going through the same motions that you're going through, struggles with schools, struggles with healthcare providers, and people not understanding, right? Society not understanding intersectionality of your child being Black and autistic, or Black and disabled. So there's a community of people wherever that are understanding. So it's so essential that building support systems happen. So I love that you cover that in your book. And I know you speak powerfully about the disparities that Black families often face in healthcare, education, access to services. This is so obviously something we're very passionate about as
Yes.
well. From what you've witnessed and lived, where do you see the biggest gaps, and how do those gaps impact Black families emotionally and practically?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I see it in healthcare, but
Mm-hmm.
educationally, because a lot of people think, oh, or they don't think they have the tools. I don't know what this means. So I'm coming to the table with all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this is. And for me, especially at the school, this is when I jump in
Yeah.
and say, hey, I will sit at the table with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have went back and forth with teachers that I respect, but I'm sorry. I, no, this is not okay.
Yeah.
Um, and I see it a lot, especially at those IEP meetings,
Mm-hmm.
because parents are intimidated. Parents and caregivers are very much intimidated. I mean, I will have to say, sitting at the table for my own child
Mm-hmm.
feels different
Yeah.
than helping somebody else.
Most
So I get it. I definitely get it. I'll be like, oh, I'll tell my husband, oh, I got IEP meeting. He's like, what are you worried about? You've been doing this. I said, but oh, now he in high school, and so it's different, you know. So he's like, I don't know what you worried about. I said, you know. And one day, like a couple times, he went to a meeting. He was just sitting there like, I don't know what to say. You know, he's like, we got like the meeting was over. He's like, what did we just talk about? You know.
It is very different. I say all the time, advocating for my clients and advocating for my children is completely
Two
different. I am not in any professional mode when I'm in there for I am mom. Oh,
no,
that's how
yes.
I am navigating. You start saying something about my kid that I don't like, I'm not professional. I'm not in any shape or form thinking about being a therapist, my degrees and education, none of that. I'm thinking about why are you saying these things about my child like this, right? So it is
Hmm.
completely different because that emotional attachment is different. I have my own advocate, our own special education attorney that comes to meetings with us because I am not in any way in a mind frame of making sure that what they saying is what needs to be in the IEP.
Never thought of doing that.
Yes,
But for myself, that is, I
it
probably
is.
should
You should, because it's different, and she catches things that normally I would catch if it was for.
because your emotions are into play.
Exactly, exactly. So she's been a part since our oldest is now in eighth grade. Since our
Hmm.
oldest was in first grade, she has been our attorney. And she just makes sure that everything is what it needs to be because I'm not catching anything in that moment because I may have been triggered by something else and I'm
Hmm.
emotional and,
Hmm.
and whatever. But she's catching it and that makes it ensures that they're getting what they need because like you said, we're in that role of parents. So I always encourage parents, even professionals, to have an advocate, whether it's, special education advocate, an attorney, or whatever, to come in, family member to come in, so
For
that
that
they are
support.
able to help with those things. Because as a parent, you want something else, and that education is like the most daunting thing for a lot of parents because one, you're not seeing your medical professional as much as your child is in school and having to deal with the things that they're going through in
Yes.
school. And schools play by their own rules.
Rules.
They
Oh,
have laws, but a lot of times schools are vibing with their own environment. They're not doing what is stated in any of those laws. So a lot of times it's like, well, you're supposed to be doing this, and they don't even know sometimes because they're just doing the environment of what's going on. So it's just so much sometimes, and they may not explain your rights. They may not explain, things that are rightfully owed to you legally, and that can make things difficult. And if it's your first one, it's like, well, what do I expect? Well, what? So schools alone, I think, are one of the biggest stressors for parents, especially Black parents, because
yes.
a lot of times we just don't have the information. So it's nice to know that there's people like you within the school system that are there to advocate and to help because it is very intimidating to go into a meeting and it's 10 of the school
All these
personnel
people.
and you.
Yeah, and so I mean, yeah, it is. And so now I'm thinking like my son just had an IP meeting. I was like, this is like his first one for high school, and I'm gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to talk because he's doing okay. Like,
Hmm.
but I'm like, is this all? Things are coming off his IP, which is great, but I don't know. I just, this transitioning plan and all, because he's a young ninth grader. He just turned 14 in
Yeah.
September. So we starting high school at 13.
Same.
So,
All of our children will do that as well. So, our oldest will be 13 when she starts ninth grade next year. And so we just
hmm.
had her IEP meeting 2 months ago, October, and we were working on her transition plan. And I was not in the mind frame of any kind of thing, but my lawyer was on. She was like, "Nope, that's not. Nope, nope, nope. You need to bring somebody in. They need to make sure that this transition plan is something that fits her needs." And in my mind, I was already just like, "I can't believe we're really working on."
We're here.
Yeah, I was processing like this girl really finna be in high school. Oh gosh, like how I'm still getting used to middle school, and here we are
Mhm.
going to high school. So I was just in a completely different mind frame because those transitions, middle school is one of the hardest transitions for children, but then transitioning to high school and knowing that they really about to be in the real world, soon. That's a different type of
Yes.
emotion as well that, I don't think schools really prepared not only the students, but the parents for.
Not even gen ed students. I don't think they're
No,
prepared either
no.
because I find, see, for Mason, we decided after first grade, I took him out of public school. And
Mhm,
so we went to a private school, which was Catholic based, but they specifically work with children like no, low needs, autism, dyslexia, ADHD, anxiety, that type of thing. So he stayed there from second to eighth grade. Small classroom size was 12 to 16 kids, two intervention specialists per class. So he was like in his bubble. Now you got to come out of this bubble because they don't have a high school. I'm like, why don't y'all have a high school? Y'all been in existence for years. We prepare our kids.
mhm,
So he's still going to a Catholic based school, and they do have a lot of supports. And what they said, some of his intervention specialists, they said he is better prepared than some of the kids that's coming to us from other
mhm,
schools.
mhm,
But to me, I'm like, no, he's not. They're like, no, yes, he really is. So, I mean, like they went and bought eighth grade. They bought them lockers with the lock on it so they would know how to. So they worked on that all eighth grade. Just those little
mhm, mhm.
things,
Yeah, those little
independent things. And he
things
knew
that
how to do that.
exactly. I
So,
think, I think it's funny with schools, like elementary, they're hand holding, they're doing everything, and then they get to middle school and they're like, oh, you got to be independent. But if you're not teaching them, how are they to? Is it osmosis? Is they just supposed to like?
just jump on in there.
Yeah, there's
Get
no
in there.
teaching them what they need to do. It's, oh, you should know this. Well, how should they know it if nobody's teaching them? You're not making it a priority. So I have
Yeah.
a lot of beef with the school systems. My whole dissertation is around middle schools because
Oh, wow.
yeah, because I'm like, y'all got to do better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I look at the eighth, seventh, and eighth graders. We have some great seventh and eighth grade teachers at the school that I'm in, but I still don't feel like they're,
Mhm.
then I know like the high schools, some of them will tell me what high school. And there's one of me in like all of Cleveland Municipal School District. So I'll call that person, hey, I need you to look after such and such, or I'll call and check on them to see how they are doing.
Yeah.
Cutting up over there in ninth grade. Oh, I said, oh, that's what we're doing. So,
Yeah, it's yeah. But as we close, what message do you want parents, especially Black parents who are raising autistic children, to carry with them when they're feeling unsure, when they're feeling isolated, tired, alone?
I mean, to me, I've been saying this. They need to look at, and I know they may have to go through that whole grieving process, but this is just a new journey. It's not the end of the world. It's a beginning to a new journey.
Mhm,
Make sure you find your support, whether it's a family member, friend, a group in the community. Get with those people, try to find a support system, and just remember you are not alone. There are so many supports out here, so many resources. You're not alone in this journey
mhm,
because I know it can feel like you're walking in a tunnel alone by yourself. And I felt that even though I had people around me,
mhm,
I still felt like I'm by myself. And they're like, no, you're not, but so just remembering to build that support system, take care of you,
mhm.
because if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of your child or anyone else.
Yes.
So those are really important things to remember.
Thank you so much. And Lashana, tell the people where they can get your book, where they can find you, connect with you, because I know they're probably going to want that resource after listening to this episode.
Okay, well, the book you can buy off Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Um, I am on Instagram. I need to do better, people. So hold me accountable. At the Lashana Perspective on Instagram, on TikTok. You can find me there. I do have videos there that I'm gonna get in my mojo for 2026. I would like to do some training and some other things, but yeah, you can find me there. If you have any questions, they can send me a message. I'm happy to reply and help as much as I can.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll have all of those links in our show notes as usual. Lashana, thank you so much for being on the podcast and giving us all of your insights. We appreciate it so much. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you all for listening to another episode of the Autism Black Show. And we'll see you on the next episode.